Howdy. Today we're looking at the Prisma Lens. It is a weapon that Barukaitier was just selling this past weekend. It is July 1st right now, so he just went away like 2 days ago. Yeah, yesterday morning, 2 days ago, something like that. So he just had it. I'm sure a lot of you will probably have this weapon now. It is the Prisma variant of the normal lens, and it's a weapon. I it's not bad per se, but it's not as good as I would hope. So let's see. Let's look up the normal lens. Now, if we directly compare the two, first off, it has a larger ammo max. The normal lens has 6, whereas the Prisma lens has 8. It doesn't compare the two, but if we go back over here, you can see 8. It has a significantly faster charge time of 0.8 over 1.2. That right there is a humongous buff. 50% faster charge rate. Its crit chance stays the same at 50%, which is still unbelievably high. The crit multiplier goes from 2.0 to 2.8. Status from 5 to 16, meaning it's actually able to apply some amount of status procs. Not very often, but more than none. The impact damage from the arrow directly hitting goes from 50 to 56, and the blast damage from the explosion goes from 660 to 740. Now, if you don't know, Lens is an explosive bow. It shoots an arrow that makes this big like cold radius on the impact, has an embed delay of 1.3 seconds, and then explodes, dealing blast damage. It's got 7.2 meter explosive radius, right, the range of the radial attack, and a fall off of 70%, so it's not going to do a whole lot of damage at the edge. It also has 10 cold damage. That will change if you add elements onto it, but that doesn't actually reflect what it really does. I mean, it still applies to status, yeah, but it will always have a forced cold proc as well, right? So if you were to put toxin damage on this weapon, you could get cold and viral at the same time. So I'll show what I mean. So you pull the weapon back, shoot, and then there it is. Makes that big AoE. Everything is frozen, not frozen, but cold is applied to them. It is one guaranteed cold proc, forced cold proc. So it's not a lot, but it's more than nothing. It helps keep enemies from moving outside of that radius. And like I said, because it's forced, you can put viral on it and have viral and cold at the same time. The weapon may only hold 8 in the ammo, but it does have a built-in ammo mutation of 50%, so it's not too bad. It is pretty fun. Like, listen to the sound. The little like ding it makes once you fully charge the arrow is really satisfying to hear. Now, back to the weapon. Its base stats I already went over in comparison to the lens. They're not horrible, but they could definitely be better. I wish the damage was higher. As far as explosive weapons go, the damage isn't great. Oh yeah, one more thing, I forgot to show it here. Unlike the Kuva Brahma or the Proboscis Cernos, this AoE bow actually has like proper projectile velocity. It works like a normal bow. See, it doesn't like fall insanely far down like Proboscis Cernos or the Kuva Brahma do. So it's actually possible to aim for headshots. Headshots aren't going to affect the damage of the explosion, but it will affect being able to use a longbow sharp shot, which I'll show in a bit. Now back to the weapon. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I am on Mirage, but I am not using anything that will affect our damage. As you can see, no arcanes, and I'm not casting any abilities. And these shards are duration, 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 and casting speed, casting speed. So nothing on my Mirage is affecting our damage. The reason I'm on Mirage is because I want to show Lens with her in a minute, so that I can, show some stuff that has to do with that. Now then, back to the weapon, for real this time. Here you can see the unique trait, like I said, built-in ammo conversion of 50%. I think it stacks with arrow mutation. I've heard people say that, and it would make sense that it does, but I can't really tell. This isn't max, but when I put this on, I don't feel like I get any more ammo. I still get like 1 ammo when it converts bricks, so I'm not actually sure if it stacks. It's really hard to tell. If you are absolutely certain, then let me know in the comments if you're sure if it does or not. But for the time being, I do run this. If you didn't want to, The Exus mod actually at base is a Mad slot, not Naramon. I changed this with the Forma, so you could run Terminal Velocity instead for better projectile speed instead. Now, we are going to want base damage. Galvanized Aptitude's a no-no here because we're doing like all AoE damage, so we don't want this. And crit chance is a must-have, but if you go critical delay, it's going to kill your charge time, so you really need some level of fire rate. That's why I like to put on Vile Precision. The weapon comes with one Madarite at base, which is this bottom right, and the top two left are both Naramon at base, so you get 3 base polarities. I've got 4 form on because I put Madarite, 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 and then changed the X-list to Naramon. And we slap on Vital Sense for crit damage, and Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot, right? So damage, crit chance, crit damage, multi-shot, fire rates. All we need is some elemental stuff. But first, I want to show it with flat damage, right? Not Hunter Munitions, because Hunter Munitions is the main way to use this bow, but we can use it without it. So let's say we go Primed Cryo Rounds, and wait, I actually gotta take this off or I'm not gonna have enough space. Primed Cryo Rounds, Malignant Force we can run, and then maybe High Voltage. That puts us at... Oh wait, this is in the wrong order. I was like, what's wrong with my... Oh, I would have to switch the things around. I guess we don't need Corrosive Viral here. We'll just go with Viral damage. And then we can top that off with Electric. Shabam. Viral Electric. That's kind of the main thing I would go with, I guess. You could go Viral Heat, I suppose, as well. But the problem is that the status is so low, you can't really get a ton of electric procs. Corrosive, if you even get a corrosive proc, you're only going to get like 1. So corrosive doesn't really do a whole lot. Having the cold procs can be nice though, because it increases your crit damage. Oh wait, I just realized I forgot to put an arcane on. You have several arcane options actually. You can go longbow sharp shot if you aim for headshots. This is an AoE bow, but because it works like a normal bow with the projectile velocity, it's not actually too hard to get headshots with it. That's why I prefer longbow sharp shot. You can also go primary frostbite because it has forced cold procs. This will give you an extra, what, I think 120 crit damage and 90 multi-shot at max stacks. So that's an option as well. Then, of course, you could always go with some primary merciless, but I think frostbite or longbow would be more consistent. We'll put on frostbite for now. Now, here we are, level 180 Corrupted Steelpath Heavy Gunners. And we, other than Frostbite, I guess, as well as the Galvanized Multi-Shot, there's not too much that we have to wait to build up from getting kills. You can see, though, that it's struggling really, really hard. Like, it doesn't really do jack shit for damage. So, going for flat damage is rough. Radiation doesn't really work either. Heat doesn't really work. Toxin doesn't work. Corrosive isn't that great on it. If you outsource Armor Strip and have Viral on this, it's gonna do some okay damage, but even then, like, what weapon won't? Blast doesn't work because you can't apply enough stacks on it realistically. It's just really hard to work with when it has not amazing base damage and horrible status. It's rough. So the best option really would be Hunter Munitions, because we have high enough crit chance that we get to at least 100% to get more consistency on it. So this is the build I would use. Wait a second. Shivering Contagion here, I don't want to show that quite yet. So not much changed here, except, you know, we put Hunter Munitions on instead of Primed Cryo Rounds, and we don't have High Voltage on anymore either, because we're not running Electric Viral. We don't need a second Toxin mod, because we're already getting Viral here. So the next best thing would be Rifle Elementalist, possibly, but there is a problem with this, which is its punch through. I'm actually here, we're going to test it right now. I can't remember if it... Okay, no, it does make the explosion on the initial hit. That's good, that's very good. Because otherwise the punch through would mess up. So yeah, Rifle Elementalist. The punch through is not going to do anything for you really, but the status damage is multiplicative so that you get bigger slash box. And then I'm not going to have Longbow Sharp Shot on yet. Let me switch back to Frostbite. Although I suppose I never showed this with Longbow, although I don't think Longbow is going to make a big enough difference here. Though I guess in case there's that like one guy that wanted to see it on the Viral Electric, I might as well show it real quick. Just so that you know. Here, let us do this. You can see that it's better, but it's still not amazing. Usable, but not amazing. That's why we want to use the Hunter Moo instead. So back to the Hunter Munitions build. Whee! And I'll show this with Primary Frostbite, and then I'll show it with Longbow Sharp Shot. Because again, I prefer Longbow. I know not everyone has it, and not everyone's going to want to aim for headshots on an explosive weapon. But if you do, it's very much worth it. Now, we got a slash on the direct hit. There, it's doing some damage, but now we have our Frostbite built up all the way. Look at that. It's not amazing. not even a little bit. This weapon just lacks damage. It really needs some damage. So if you're going to go for an explosive weapon, you're honestly significantly better off going with Kuva Brahma or Tonkor, or really almost any of the other explosive weapons that have been or are meta, or anywhere close to that. Because if you're just using this to kill stuff with explosions, then you're just using a straight up downgrade. There's not much point to it. This is going to be with Deadhead now. There, Deadhead procced. See, with Deadhead, it is capable of killing stuff, almost, or kind of, sort of. Look, it killed that guy with the AoE from the explosion. I think that... No, that's not going to kill, unfortunate. Now it will, though. So, then comes the question of, well, what's unique about the weapon? If I'm going to use this weapon, it needs to do something that, like, other weapons don't do. Something that, like, Kuva Brahma can't do, or Kuva Tonkor can't do. Something that makes it unique. That is why, instead, I like to take off Rifle Elementalist and put on Shivering Contagion. So this is a mod not a lot of people use. I think more people have been using it and know of its existence after Jade Shadows and the cold changes now. But it's pretty good. Enemies affected by cold status have a 30% chance to spread that status to other enemies within 6 meters. And we have a forced cold proc. It's only one cold proc, but with multi-shot that ends up being higher. So, like, once this is built up enough that we have over 3 multi-shot, that's 3 forced cold procs. And every enemy that we hit has a chance to spread that to enemies within 6 meters, which is almost as big as the radial attack. So this is now going to make it be able to freeze entire groups of enemies, because that's something that a lot of other explosive weapons don't do, and then you don't have to, like, have your Sentinel be doing that. It makes it quite nice. It's still not going to fix the bad damage of it, but it's going to make it be able to freeze enemies fairly easily. Now, the problem right now is we don't have enough multi-shot because we don't have our kills built up. But because we have Galvanized, once our multi-shot builds up from getting enough kills, I honestly should have spawned in some fodder so that you could, or so that I could get kills to show. Here. 3 stacks. We're almost there. 5 stacks, there we go. Now I can reset these enemies and you can see that sometimes you will be able to get it in a single shot. So we shoot the center. Look at that. Almost all of them, I think 18, like 18 or so of the 20 enemies were frozen in a single shot. I think that's pretty good. You can freeze entire groups of enemies. And that doesn't just crowd control them because, well, you know, it does that because they're frozen. But when they're frozen, they take 100% additive to mods crit damage. So not just more damage from yourself, but more damage for your teammates if they attack them, because anything that hits them will get 100% more crit damage. So that's pretty nice. I quite like using it this way instead. You can, for even more consistency on it, go for... Where is it? Primary Frostbite with Shivering Contagion as well for more multi-shots, so you get even more cold procs to spread more cold. But I still like having some level of damage. Now, we can fix the damage while also escalating the AoE cold aspect of the weapon by using Mirage, and that's why I'm on Mirage. See, Mirage is a weapons platform, and she does a lot of damage. This is the build I've got going on right now. Pretty typical, right? I'm not going to go too in-depth to it, but we have Eclipse, of course, 200% at base with our strength at 243. We have 486% bonus damage to our weapons, and that is multiplicative. So we're dealing nearly 6 times the amount of damage just from Eclipse alone. Then, Hall of Mirrors. At base, it spawns 4 clones, and each clone does 25% of the damage that you deal. If you're shooting, only 2 of the 4 clones will shoot with you, though. And if you're meleeing, all 4 clones will melee. So for shooting, we're only getting an extra 50% damage. However, that also scales with strength. So with how high our strength is... Oh wait, not 25%, sorry, 20% is how much damage they deal at base. So with our strength, they're doing 48.6, which means with 2 clones, we're nearly doubling our damage. But more importantly than getting more damage, we also get more shots, more cold procs, because they shoot, and it's not just a damage increase, they're shooting separately. More explosions, more cold procs, which means more frozen enemies. So we fix our damage, and we get even bigger AoE and even bigger cold spreading. Then, I have put the Ophanum Eyes from Jade, her helmet ability, on here so that we can armor strip as well while slowing enemies. I'm going to do a Mirage build video about this build as well as this build right here, but that's not what we're doing right now. So this is, just so I can show it with the lens, Prisma Lenz specifically. So, let us reset these enemies. And you'll be able to see, I'm not even going to cast my 2, the Ophanum Eyes yet, we're just going to go right in. Like this. Look at that. Easily freeze almost all of these enemies. And now, look, it almost kills them, or gets them to half. That was before Longbow Sharp Shot procs, and we have none of our Galvanized stacks yet. So with this, and Longbow Sharp Shot, it's going to actually be able to kill stuff now. While also having lots of cold procs. Now, unfortunately, if you don't have a big group of enemies, Shivering Contagion's not going to be able to proc enough. It still throws all of those enemies there, but if you're fighting like a single enemy, it's still going to take more than 1 shot to freeze themselves. But most of the time, let's be honest, this is just a horde simulator, Warframe is. So most of the time, you're going to just be able to freeze the entire crowd immediately. And then if you want to see it with the armor strip from Ophanum Eyes, right, you just look into the crowd and they all start getting stripped. And now, look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely magnificent. So now I get to have the fun of the Prisma Lenz, because it's cool, looks cool, sounds cool, it's fun, satisfying, fix the damage, while also spreading cold like crazy. So it actually has use. Plus I just really like Mirage in general. She's fun to play. So that's mostly it for the Prisma Lenz. I mean, there's not really much else to it. It's a bow that honestly is not a big enough upgrade to make the lens on its own viable, but it's still an upgrade over the normal lens. Maybe one day we'll get an Tenet lens that actually has damage, but for now, this is what we're left with. That's going to be it. If you liked the video, then leave a like and subscribe. Adios.